Hey guys, it's Cameroon and welcome back to another video. Now the third week of the Overwatch League Summer Stage is coming up and that means it's time for some pick'ems again. Now if you don't know what this video is about or haven't watched any of my other pick'em videos, I basically go over the current Overwatch League week and give my predictions with a little bit of explaining to why I made them. Last week's predictions went better than the first week and I hope to continue this trend. Of course, I still got some wrong, but honestly, week 2 was probably some of the best Overwatch League games we have seen in like all of the 2023 season. London playing Rush and beating the Shock. Houston proving that Atlanta can bleed and winning against them. Like, things are heating up. There's also been a couple of changes to some teams in both regions, like Guangzhou Charge's roster is basically becoming Chengdu Hunters again. And Vegas Eternal picked up Finale as one of their DPS. I think it's Vegas' time, if you know what I mean. Also, the Dreamers let me down when I believed in them last week, though. I'm hoping they bounce back. Now, if you don't have a lot of time to listen to me explain everything, just like every other prediction video, I'll have a chapter where you can skip ahead to see my pick'ems. If you end up doing that, maybe just leave a like on the video, and if you want more, subscribing is always a nice way to let me know. Also, be sure to check out these videos on the screen right now if you're new to pick'ems or the Overwatch League. They'll get you set up for earning Overwatch League tokens and more. Now, let's get into the third week of the Summer Stage, or week 11. I'll start off with the East region first, since their games start first. Also, I need to get this out. The East is just all over the place with matches. They are incredibly hard to predict. Like, at one point, you'll have Seoul Dynasty beating Hangzhou Spark, but then they lose to O2 Blast. So if my East pick'ems are wrong, that's the reason why. Okay, for the first match of the East region, we have the Seoul Infernal versus Dallas Fuel. Now, Seoul Infernal's main tank, Meg, has recently got COVID, so I'm going to be making the predictions based off of that. I don't know if he'll be playing, but if he is, he's probably not going to be 100%, which is really weird to say when you're talking about video games, but when you're sick and you play video games, you feel different and you definitely aren't going to be playing as well. But I still think Seoul Infernal is going to win this match. They've got plenty of great players, and Dallas Fuel, while they are improving, just aren't better than Seoul Infernal. So I'm going to keep it close though and say Seoul Infernal wins 3-2 against Dallas Fuel. Then moving on, we have the Dreamers versus Seoul Dynasty. This is so confusing. Like, I believed in the Dreamers. They lost 2 matches, and then I'm like, I'm against Seoul Dynasty. And then they beat Hangzhou Spark, but then Seoul Dynasty loses to O2 Blast, and I'm just incredibly confused all the way around. I'm gonna say Dreamers win 3-2, but I could really be wrong here. Then we move on to the last match for Friday. It is Hangzhou Spark versus Poker Face Gaming. I think Hangzhou is gonna win. They did lose to Seoul Dynasty, but I'm going to apply the rule that the Overwatch League team should beat the Contenders team. I'm gonna say Hangzhou Spark wins 3-2. Moving on to the next day, we have O2 Blast versus the Dreamers. Now again, I'm very confused when it comes to these Contenders teams. I really don't know which one's gonna win. It's kind of like a coin flip. You could say Dreamers will win, or you could say O2 Blast is going to win. However, I want to say Dreamers, but I know I can't. I think O2 Blast is going to win this match. It's going to be close, and I'm going to say it's 3-2. Moving on to the next match, we have Guangzhou Charge versus the Dallas Fuel. Now, I mentioned it before, but Guangzhou is pretty much the Chengdu Hunters now when it comes to the roster. I remember the Chengdu Hunters being a fan favorite because of just the random compositions that they ran. They were like the only team that did it, but I don't think that's going to work against Dallas Fuel. Guangzhou has been losing a lot of matches too, which is really sad to say, especially since they were like the top team in the spring stage. So I'm gonna say that Dallas wins 3-1. Like, I can't see Guangzhou Charge winning this match. Moving on to the next match, we have Seoul Infernal versus Panthera, and I'm going to apply the Overwatch League team should beat the Contenders team. Even with Meg being sick, I still think Seoul Infernal is gonna win this. It's gonna be 3-1 though. They will drop a map. And then for the last match on Saturday, we have Hangzhou Spark versus the Shanghai Dragons. Shy and leave. You gotta win this match. Do not lose to the Dragons. I'm gonna go with Hangzhou Spark winning 3-1. I think Dragons are improving, especially now that they got Fate, but they still need some time to really get their bearings. And Spark should win. They are the better team. Then we move on to the last day of the East region. So the first match we have is O2 Blast versus Panthera, and I think O2 Blast are gonna win this 3-2. It's very hard to predict Contenders teams, honestly, at this point. They are winning, they are losing. They're all over the place. I'm just gonna stick to what I feel is right, and I believe that O2 Blast is gonna beat Panthera. Then we move on to Seoul Dynasty versus Poker Face Gaming. This is where I actually think Poker Face Gaming is going to beat Seoul Dynasty. My main reasoning for this is if I think Dreamers are going to beat Seoul Dynasty, Poker Face Gaming has to beat Seoul Dynasty because they beat Dreamers. So I kind of can't put Seoul Dynasty above PFG, especially if Seoul Dynasty lost to O2 Blast as well. So I think PFG is going to win 3-2 against Seoul Dynasty. And then the last match we have is Guangzhou Charge versus the Shanghai Dragons. I think this is the time that Shanghai Dragons are going to step it up, and I think they're going to win. They're going to be playing well together this time. Guangzhou Charge is going to be trying some crazy comp that just doesn't kind of make sense, and I don't think they're going to win. I think they're going to keep it close though. I think the Dragons are going to win 3-2. It's just a feeling for me. Now, of course, like I mentioned before, the East region is all over the place. I think at this point, I can't really understand who's going to win because they just keep showing signs of winning and then losing and then winning and then losing when they shouldn't win or lose. It makes no sense. But what does make sense is a lot of the matches in the West region, and that's where we're going to go to next. So the first match on Friday for the West region is the Los Angeles Gladiators versus London Spitfire. Now, London Spitfire, I love you because you played Rush last weekend, and it was amazing to see. You beat the Shock, it was incredible, and then you beat Valiant as well. It was just a super fun match. It was so nice to see something different that wasn't Winston. I want to root for you, but I think Gladiators will win. If Gladiators tank, Marvel isn't playing on ping, Gladiators are going to win this. But if he is playing on ping, I think it's going to be a lot closer. So I'm going to say that the Gladiators will win, but it'll be 3-2. Then moving on to Boston Uprising versus Los Angeles Valiant. Now, Boston Uprising is going to win this. We all know that. But Valiant is improving. They are winning matches. They are making games interesting, and it's really fun to watch. I think that they'll at least take a map. So I'm going to give it to Boston Uprising 3-1, but I think it will be an entertaining match. And then we move on to a very interesting match, and it's going to be the Atlanta Reign versus the Florida Mayhem. Mayhem and Boston Uprising both beat Outlaws. Outlaws beat Atlanta Reign. So we're going to have an interesting match here. This is going to be a great match, hopefully. Mayhem's going to be playing really well. Atlanta Reign's going to be playing really well. And with Outlaws proving that Atlanta can lose matches, which is actually kind of crazy to think about, it's going to be a close fight. I'm going to still go with the safe pick and say Atlanta Reign will win, and it will be 3-2. But I would love to see if Mayhem wins as well. I would love to see the top team just lose a little bit more because I don't want to be like, oh, Atlanta's going to win every single time. So I'm going to be rooting for Mayhem, but I'm predicting Atlanta Reign winning 3-2. Moving on to the next day, we have Vancouver Titans versus the Washington Justice. This is going to be a close fight. Justice are the stronger team though, but that's not to discredit Titans. He's saying played incredible against Toronto Defiant, and if he's going to pop off like that, again, Washington Justice, you got to look out. However, I'm going to say that the Justice wins 3-2. It's going to be a great match as well. Then we move on to the next big match, and it's going to be Boston Uprising versus the Atlanta Reign. This is another match where you know that Boston beat Outlaws. So we're going to another match where potentially Atlanta Reign can lose. However, I think Boston Uprising is the weakest of those three teams that could beat Atlanta Reign, where it's Outlaws, Mayhem, and then Boston. Because Boston has dropped maps to multiple teams they shouldn't have, and for that reason, I think they're only going to win one map. So Atlanta Reign is going to win 3-1. Then moving on to the most important match of the whole week, and it's going to be the Las Vegas Eternal versus the Los Angeles Valiant. I think it's time. I genuinely think it's time that the Las Vegas Eternal wins their first match. They've got the pieces. They got Finale. They got Knife. They got 2U. They got Irony. They got Rack Attack. I think this is the time that they will take their first map, and I'm rooting for them regardless on if Valiant wins. I think Eternal is going to win 3-2, and nothing will change my mind. I'm rooting for them. Team Eternal. Then moving on to the last day, we have the Florida Mayhem versus the Washington Justice. Mayhem are the stronger team. Someone, Checkmate, RuPaul, just all of them, honestly, they play incredible Overwatch. Mayhem's going to win this 3-1. Then we have the next match, which is London Spitfire versus the Las Vegas Eternal. I don't think Eternal's going to win this one just because of London using the rush comp. I could be wrong. Knife could pop off. Finale could have a very good match, but I'm going to take the safe pick, and I'm going to say Spitfire wins 3-2 just because of the randomness that Spitfire is going to bring with the Reinhardt and the Symmetra comps. It's going to be a good match, though. And I highly recommend tuning into that match because I think it'll be an interesting one, and I think it's going to be some entertaining Overwatch. And then we have the last match of week 3, and it is the Los Angeles Gladiators versus the Vancouver Titans. Again, the same rule applies. If Marvel is playing with ping, the game will be closer. But I genuinely believe that Los Angeles Gladiators are going to beat the Titans 3-1. And here are my Summer Stage Week 3 pick'ems. Now, I think this week of Overwatch League is going to be interesting, to say the least. I'm predicting that the East region will be all over the place, and Vegas potentially getting their first win. Come on, I want to see it. I just want to say, though, that even with basically the same meta as the Spring Stage, it seems that the matches are way more competitive, and it's getting harder to guess who will win. I honestly love this because I don't want to see every match as a stomp. I want to go into a match feeling like any team can win, and so far, we're getting that. So, if I could just quickly say this, if you have any interest in watching the league, I highly recommend watching this week because I think we're going to get some awesome matches. Remember, the East Region streams start on Friday, July 28th at 1 a.m. Pacific Time, 4 a.m. Eastern Time, or 9 a.m. UK Time, and the West Region streams start on Friday, July 28th at 12 p.m. Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, or 8 p.m. UK Time. So be sure to submit your pick'ems before those times. I also just want to quickly thank you all for the support on my previous video. The Mischief and Magic event got over 1,000 views in the first day, which is incredible. So again, I just want to say thank you for watching it and leaving comments if you did. It was cool to hear all of your opinions about that event. Anyways, if you liked the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. And yeah, enjoy watching the Overwatch League this weekend. I will talk to you all soon.